Hey, beautiful souls, it's your bruddaZen with another Take 10 with Zen, where we take 10 minutes or less, sometimes more, sometimes less, where we talk about things of spirit, of how to connect to our higher selves, and where I answer questions from my subscribers. We've been talking about lately connecting to our spiritual gifts, seeing how we can use them more often, and clearing the clogs in that pipeline of unconditional love, which is what really fuels our spiritual gifts. Last episode, we're talking about how we can start with ourselves as the guinea pig for our spiritual gifts, and then, use them more and more often to develop that spiritual muscle. So in this episode, we're going to talk about another possible step we can do once we feel comfortable with that, using that on ourselves and experiencing it, what we can do to help us share that with the world. Of course, a big reason why we don't act on our spiritual gifts and share it with the world very fast is because we're scared, right? It's fear. We don't want to fail. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. We don't want to let people down, the creator down. We don't want to do things wrong and get ostracized and rejected for it, right? So that's why, starting on our own selves and becoming comfortable with it and using it more and more often. At some point, we're ready to share it with someone else. And that's what we call the safety net, which is finding someone who you feel safe with, right? That is a safe environment, a safe situation where you don't fear failing, you don't fear judgment from the individual, and you start to share your gifts. The example that I have has to do with being a medium and channeling messages from those who were on this planet that have already gone back to the other side in this lifetime, right? I already had been using tarot cards, connecting to spirit, bringing through messages, but it was like over a year or so, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, but I started to just have this urge to want to communicate with those on the other side, because all these mediums were coming across, like Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, the Hollywood medium, other mediums. There were just a variety coming across on TV, on YouTube, emails, books, all this from all over the place. And every time I watched it, my heart yearned to help bring comfort to those individuals and to communicate the messages that those who had passed wanted to come through. And I kept on going, okay, how is this going to happen? I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Well, I think I'm ready for it. Am I ready for it? And so I slowly started to connect more with spirit, but I hadn't connected deeply to those that, specifically had passed on the other side for messages from them. They're all part of our spirit guides anyway, so they're part of this large group, but to hear messages specifically from them is what we were looking at expanding. So it had been going on for a while, and then I went up, I have a friend who lives in a city close by. She's a shaman, and I went to lunch with her, and she was talking about her brother who had passed, and that she was just with her son and her daughter-in-law up at a family cabin, and the son had shared, he was talking to a buddy of his, and that there was they were talking about his uncle because he was like a father to him, and there was this big heart in the sky, and it suddenly but it was it looked like a broken heart, how it has a break in the middle. And they were like, but then it formed together and formed a heart in the sky in these clouds. And they're like, oh my gosh. Well, when she was walking with her daughter-in-law around a pond, they found 7 heart-shaped rocks. And 7 was a significant number for her daughter-in-law. And so she's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, I just love how spirit communicates with us and how those on the other side communicate with us. And I told her, I go, I've been having this for about a year or so now, where I've been wanting to communicate, and I don't know how that's going to come through. and we talked a little bit, and because she's a shaman, she does connect with spirit and stuff too. So, she understood. And so we went back to her house, and before I was leaving, I go, hey, do you want a card reading before I go? And she goes, absolutely, I'll never turn that down. And so I went to do a reading for her, and I was just like, I hadn't felt before this veil to the left of me, and there was four. I felt like there was four individual entities behind this veil, and I was like, I think they want to communicate through the cards. And I go, that's a safe space for me because I've been doing it for so long, so it felt very, like I said, safe. It felt comfortable, right? And she's, of course, she's so loving and so giving and huge heart. It was a very safe space from her as well. And she's like, let's do it. So I gave her my cards because I know some people have beliefs you're not supposed to do that, but I don't have that belief. I hand my cards to people and I let them shuffle them to put their energy into it. But two cards fell out face down, and I was like, I heard, these two are for later. So I put those to the side and I grabbed the cards and I'm like, all right, here we go. I was nervous. It was a safe environment, but it's still the first time I was ever going to channel messages from the other side, from loved ones who had passed. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So I shuffled them and I put it down, and the first card I pulled out was the Lover's card. And in this particular deck I was using, it's a huge heart. And I was like, well, there's your brother. He's there, right? It was amazing. It was like, oh my gosh. And then all the cards I pulled, not knowing anything. I hadn't met her and known her for a very long time. So I didn't know a lot about that her brother had passed. I didn't know any of that. And I didn't know who he was or how he was. But all the cards that came out were him. And she's like, oh my God. And then the next card that came out, I was like, it had a symbol on it that had like four, it was almost like a kind of a 4-leaf clover, but it was an object of some kind. And I was like, I feel like it was whoever this is, it's a feminine energy. And, they were like one of 4 siblings. And she goes, that'd be my mom. And it makes sense that he would come out right next to, my brother, because they were like this. And everything that came up was about her mom. And she was like, yep, that's her. And it was a wonderful message. And then the next card I pulled, I go, maybe I should stop while I'm ahead, with all matching up. But they were like, she's like, come on. Because I said, I feel like there's 4. So there's 2. We're halfway there. And the next card that came out was a card with a pregnant woman on it. And I think that was like the Empress card in this deck. But and I was just like, oh my gosh. I immediately felt like it was, a baby that had passed, like a miscarriage. And I was not ready for that to come up. And I was just like, I kind of feel like it's a feminine energy, but, I'm not sure. And I was kind of fumbling. She goes, miscarriage? And I go, yeah. And she goes, I've never told anyone this before. And she did give me permission to share this. I'm not using her name anyway, but she gave me permission to share this story because she had a miscarriage and she hadn't told anyone before. And she didn't even know what gender it was because she didn't even know she was pregnant and she had the miscarriage. And it was when she was really, really young. And I had this picture in my head of this little girl with curly hair, like blonde curly hair. And she was being carried by a woman that had long blonde straight hair. And she was like, you know what? I never knew what gender it was, like I said. But she goes, after the miscarriage, she goes, I had dreams of a little blonde-haired curly girl for, months. And I was like, wow. So they were coming through there. And then the last one, I was like, maybe I should just stop. But the last one was another feminine energy, which she knew who it was when I went through it. And I was just like, whoa, what an amazing experience. And the 2 cards, by the way, that came out, because I almost forgot them, they were off to the side. I go, oh, here are these. And I turned over one. One was the Hermit card with like a master with a little praying mantis on it. And I go, oh, that would be That's the male energy, and I turned over the other card. It was the Three of Cups, which had three women dancing. And I go, I guess Spirit wasn't going to let me get away with it anyway, because they showed that there was going to be four. So it was like the preemptiveness of one male energy and three female coming through. And so it's amazing. And I wanted to share that because it's like this, creating this safe space, right? And the first time you have a trusted individual that you do it with, it helps so much because it is that, you feel comfortable. And even if you do it several times with that individual, because I lived in a different city, like an hour away, I didn't, do a whole lot. But when I got back, that did give me the, courage, I guess, to share it with other people, other close friends. And they were like, absolutely, I want to hear from, the other side. And all this stuff was coming through, and it was just became easier and easier and easier to where amongst the people that you trust and that love you more unconditionally than anyone else can, then it just was naturally to flow into doing and giving messages to strangers, because you have that confidence of everything that happened before, and you're not just leaping off into giving messages to other people. It allows you to feel comfortable, and it allows the energy to flow as well. So I hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope this information helps you on your journey, because it is so important for us to be able to express the energy within us, but we have to just overcome those fears that we have of failing and, being rejected. So step by step is what it's all about. Little itty bitty steps. We don't have to make giant leaps. We can just take the very next step, start with ourselves, make sure that we're doing it a lot and often, because that also builds comfort, and then start reaching out to a trusted individual, and then expand to more trusted individuals, friends of friends or acquaintances, and then to strangers. You can just take little baby steps as we go along. So do you have that trusted friend that you would like to do that? Then let's go for it, right? Let's do it. If not, consider becoming one of my Praying Mantis YouTube members. It's $7.99 a month. And we do have special sessions, a Q&A session on Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And then after each of my free readings that I offer on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in the mornings, and then Friday, Saturday nights, we also have a session after that about an hour where we do readings, we do a bunch of other things, and we talk about expanding our gifts. We answer questions about that. And I'm going to start to try to find ways to where anyone that wants a space to be able to try to expand their gifts, like, okay, I want to try a card reading on someone, that we can have that space for that. So I'm going to be looking and doing more and more of that, but we definitely do talk about spirit and expanding it. So come join us, and let's grow our Zen together. All right, well, I hope that helps. My time is running out. Just know, as you're going throughout each and every second of every day of your life, you truly are unconditionally loved by the Mother and Father of all things, and are truly supported by a huge entourage of spiritual beings, including your loved ones that have gone to the other side, your ancestors, your guardian angels, your angels, all of them. Our spirit guides. You can have, leprechauns, unicorns, whatever you believe these beings of unconditional love and light are. They're there for us to help support us on this journey. If you have any questions on anything we've talked about, or have any other ideas on what you'd like to be included in these Take 10 with Zen videos, comment down below. Or if you feel uncomfortable putting it out there in the public, you can email me too at my email address, which is bruddaZen@gmail.com, and I'll respond to you over there. All right, everybody, until next week, just know that I love you guys very much as well. You hang in there, and you guys take care.